I'd always wanted to live in a real old house, and I spent about 3 years looking for an old house up here in the Hudson Valley, and I couldn't find anything. And then once I decided to build a house, the question was, well, what will it look like? And I wanted to build something that looked like it belonged here on the land, like it had always been here. And the obvious answer seemed to be Greek Revival.
Hi.
Hey, how are you? Come on in.
Thank you. Gil, so you know Stacy's never gonna leave here right now. Like, this video is gonna be like 20 hours long. It's gonna be a documentary. This is just the epitome to us of living at its most beautiful and functional. And I just want people to realize this is a house that was built from scratch. This is not an old house.
True, but with an old soul. Hopefully.
With an old soul. How do you do that? How did you create it from nothing to feel like it's always been here?
I studied a lot of precedent and looked at old houses and tried to get the bones right, and then made subtle shifts that allowed it to be more livable for the way we live now.
For example, right away, how cleanly everything is situated, how everything flows. You don't have that in an old house, but of course you have it here.
You're right, probably not as much flow, which is so much, I think, about the way we live today. We're much more fluid between rooms, and so that's something that I tried to do here.
So we're in your dining room, which is really a reading book collector obsession room.
I'm obsessed with books, from one book obsessed person to another.
Exactly, yes. Now from here I can see the kitchen, I can see the incredible summer porch, I can see this living room sitting area. So how
And the windows line up with those door openings too, so you always have a sense of a view out, which I think is really nice, having as much light in a room as possible.
Talk to me about the light.
Well, just having rooms that have lots of windows, but they're proportioned correctly so they don't look out of scale with the house as a whole. In this case, I dropped the windows down to the floor so that you got even more light, and then the window headers to be as high as possible, lining them up with the doorways, as we were just saying, so that you always are looking through to light, and that gives you that sense of extension out into the landscape, which was also important.
Ooh.
Watch yourself, the carpet's a little threadbare.
I love the threadbareness of it. And look, speaking of threadbare, how great is that chair?
I know.
What is the story with this?
It's something I found in an antique shop, and I felt like I could never find an old piece of fabric that would do the same thing as the old
You
burlap.
couldn't pay someone enough
So I
money to
just
have
left
it's
it.
like poetry.
But
It's
I'm the
so
only one who can
beautiful.
sit in it because the springs want to poke
Right,
you.
I shall not sit in it, but I'm admiring and appreciating it so much. And look at this incredible portrait and the flowers, everything, Gil, the way you've layered everything. It's just...
Well, the painting came from my grandmother's house. I lived mostly on a farm in New Jersey, but my grandmother had a house in Georgia, and where that painting came out of, and a lot of things came from that house that I have here. And what was fun for me about doing this house was this chance to have those things from my history here, and there's probably too much stuff.
No, there is not.
But
there is not too much stuff.
Because I just let the layers of history pile on top of one another, and I think that's what a house, your own home, is about, isn't it? It's where it tells the story of you and your own history, and so that's really what this place is.
Are all these amazing cuttings that you have everywhere from your garden and outside?
From growing out just outside and around the house.
And these lighting fixtures, are these like on pulley? What is this?
They're called rise and fall. They're English, and they allow you to have it low when you're eating and then higher when you're not. Actually, speaking of the kitchen, I should remember to tell you that this is a good example of how, when you want to have that sense of an old house, a lot of times they were added to over time at different times. So I made this wing, the kitchen wing, a little lower, the ceilings are a little lower, so that and the moldings are simpler, so that you feel that sense of transition from one time to another.
Right, a lot of people, yes, so the kitchen is the older part, and
exactly. This would have been maybe an 18th century part of the house, and in the 19th century they
That's
built
incredible.
I think when the house is a little imperfect and a little quirky, that's what helps it to feel not brand new. Watch your step.
So you even created a sense, like in the old houses, where you go into the little nooks and crannies of the guest rooms.
Because this is where the old kitchen wing was meant to have been, and so the ceilings are lower, everything's a little bit lower.
This is crazy. It really,
I
I can't believe how much like an old house this feels like. Oh, look at this guest room. Oh, the master bedroom. This is amazing, of course.
So Miles Red, the decorator, helped me pull together the decoration on this house.
Lucky
it was
you.
the first time we'd worked together. And it's another great collaboration that came out of working on this house.
That was the first time you worked together?
First time we worked together, and then we've worked together many times since. We just finished a house in San Francisco.
Wow.
But Miles was such a great influence on me because you were talking about how I'm sort of very buttoned up classically on the outside, and he taught me, it's one of the great lessons that I've tried to apply ever since, is to learn to loosen up a little bit, and interiors allow you to do that. For example, in this room, we're surrounded by this venison fabric called wheat flour,
Amazing.
and I originally wanted to put it on a pillow or something, and Miles said, we should just think about putting it on the entire wall, which at the time in my life, that was a very
crazy,
outrageous thing to do, but it was exactly the right thing to do because you feel almost like you're in a woodland. So this painting of this very elegant gentleman actually is the mate to the one that hangs over the mantel in the living room and came out of my grandmother's house in Georgia. Kind of a pompous painting. I took the frame off because I thought that would be way too much for this bedroom, but then it inspired me to think, well, I should collect drawings or paint pictures of men in hats to kind of balance it out in the room, and so that's what I've done ever since.
This is just such a beautiful...
Robert Kime.
And you obviously created this. Where did you get this?
I found the bed in Bridgehampton at one of their summer antique sales.
Right.
And then
it's
Miles,
fits so perfectly.
Miles thought it would be great to add the Greek key, which I thought was a really brilliant idea.
Wait, so you inserted this?
Yeah, this whole layer we added.
I love that.
Which helped to give it a little bigger scale.
Some more heft.
Which is just what it needed. And then we painted it white, too.
So, I mean, it just goes to show that just because you find something...
You can change it.
You can change it.
As long as you do it within the spirit of the thing. Hey, do you know what one of these is?
This is a staircase.
The little button.
Oh, no, what?
It's called a mortgage button. And the mythology of the mortgage button is that when you paid off your mortgage, you burned it, and you put the ashes in your newel post, and then you put a little button over the top. And this one is actually made from 19th century whale ivory in Nantucket.
Really?
As they often were.
And do you do that for clients too, like as sort of
I do, actually. I make it as a gift for anyone who has a house that's sort of this kind of character. We make one for them. Oh my God, you look very comfortable.
I know. I kind of found myself at home. I'm sorry, but this is just, I had to try out this spot. This is the summer porch. This is like the Olympic gold medal of summer porches.
It's the perfect summer nap spot, right here.
But I love how it's part kind of garden, outdoor furniture vibe, and then it also has a sense of stature. I mean, those lamps, the furniture.
The old sofa, which came out of my first apartment in New York.
Oh, it did?
It did.
It was in Manhattan, now it's here, and it's lovely.
I recovered it, but I went to Bunny Williams' porch in the country, and she had a sofa on it, and I thought, oh my God, you can have a sofa on the porch.
Yes, and it's so funny that you said that, because I used to have a porch like this, and I saw the picture of her porch in Connecticut, and it inspired me as well to kind of mix in the plant life with the sisal, with a proper sofa.
It could be a living room, an outdoor living room.
I love it. Thank you, Bunny.
One of the wonderful things about this project was that it was the beginning of many collaborations that I've had throughout my career, like Debbie Nevins for landscape, Eve Ashcraft for color. These were friendships and professional relationships that have deepened ever since. So the challenge with designing a new house on a piece of raw land is that without any context, it just looks lost. And one of the great things about working with Debbie Nevins is that she's a big believer in creating a sense of territory around a house. And we did that here relatively simply by just making stone walls and hedges. And that helped to create a context. And then we dropped in a few really big trees, the biggest trees I could afford, basically just to anchor the house and give it scale.